okay? So we want to talk about longevity, and I'm going to hand the mic over to you guys. I'm going to start with you, Dr. because obviously this is your clinic, and I want to sort of differentiate what we generally call health in the UK is kind of different to what you're doing here. Tell me what longevity means for you and how we can implement it here.
Longevity to me is directly related to your health. Your health is a tool to living. And when you're sick, you're in a state of dying, you're in a state of deterioration. And so longevity to me is improving quality of life through having health as your biggest asset to fulfill. And when we're living, what does that mean? That means the ability to give, the ability to receive, the ability to be present and be there for the things that you want to do for your children, for your loved ones, for your friends, for your staff, for your mentors, for your learners. So this is what health means to me, and longevity is the idea of having health and quality of life for as long as possible.
That's pretty good. I mean, like, Dr. E nailed it, but I think I saw my giant useless paperweight of a book back there behind Davinia, and it's kind of funny because I started writing that book like 5 years ago or whatever to be a book about longevity, and I got like a couple of months into it and realized I had to write a book on the whole body, right? Like the immune system and the endocrine system and the gastric system and brain and nutrition and diet and exercise and minerals and heat and cold and light and photons and everything, because there are so many biological mechanisms of aging that it was like impossible to just write some book about the weird plants and herbs that people in Okinawa or Sardinia or Lone Limit eat or whatever. So I look at longevity as this all-encompassing functioning of the human body in which each of the different biological systems of aging are being kept as updated and upgraded as possible, which is why this is such like a confusing sector, and why you walk into a place like this, like there's cryotherapy and there's PEMF and there's nutrients, there's IVs, because this whole idea of living a long time involves juggling a lot of balls. And I think I alluded to this when I was talking at the Health Optimization Summit. That means that it's also really easy to spend your whole life like cold and hungry and libido-less, huddled up inside a cryotherapy chamber or a hyperbaric chamber, like randomly grasping at straws, spending all the seconds that you gain on life trying to gain more seconds on life in this vicious cycle. So ultimately, I mean, one important thing is to understand that really longevity is not about having the most bragging rights on how many years that you live or trying to live as many years as you possibly can. It's trying to equip your body based on your genetics to maximize your lifespan and health span so that you're fully equipped to make maximum impact of loving other people during the brief period of time that you have on this planet that God has blessed you with, and to be able to function in terms of your body, mind, and spirit in a way that allows you to do that without being so selfish, again, that you're just walking around with the IV shoved into both elbows all the time. So that's my definition of longevity, I think.
Super, super. Okay, right, so we've got to the basics. Where the hell do we start with longevity? You mentioned DNA, right? And is science there now whereby we can tell, I mean, of course, you've got huge multinationals like 23andMe, Ancestry.com going for billions. Is the technology there where we can do a DNA test and actually get information that will impact our health long term?
Yeah. You can find out what kind of dynamite you're holding, that if you were to light that dynamite would cause some kind of a biological explosion in your body that could, based on your risk for cancer or diabetes or lactose intolerance or fast caffeine metabolizing or health, blue eyes, be something that you would be able to control, except in the case of blue eyes possibly. But the idea is that a lot of the genetic data is not heavily research-based. Like a company is testing the entire biome of your gut and then telling you exactly what you should eat and what probiotics you should take and what foods you should avoid, etc., based on the genetic composition of your gut. That's all kind of like blue sky science. It's not that proven that you can, based on your DNA, eat a certain diet and live longer, etc. The most useful thing about DNA, in my opinion, is like, I have a higher than normal risk for type 2 diabetes, right? So I'm cautious with sugar, I do carb loading, I use a lot of blood glucose disposal agents, I exercise, I use cold, which is one of the best ways to control blood glucose that there is. I have a higher than normal risk for colon cancer, so I'm not just like, sounding like I'm obsessed with coffee enemas or whatever when I'm talking on stage. I actually go out of my way to take care of my colon because I've seen 3 of my cousins had to get theirs removed, and I just know that that's a part of my body I have to pay close attention to, and that shows up on genetics as well. I have a very high risk for plaque and calcium, high scores in my heart, like I was talking about controlling the health optimization. So these are all things that I just know I can take care of. And it's either empowering or it's very, very fear-inducing. And I think that all of you in here, I don't know, raise your hand if for you that information is empowering, right? Like I love to be able to know because we have access to the type of information that we need to control those factors. So once we get into the realm of DNA modification, CRISPR gene editing, growing a 3rd arm, whatever. That's where I think that we're playing with risky science. And then also, if we're looking at genetics and saying this is exactly how you should exercise and exactly how you should eat based on genetic composition, science on that is weak as well. But risk for chronic disease and modifying your lifestyle, your diet, et cetera, based on risk for chronic disease, there's a lot that you can do with genetics. So, yeah.